that the key to success has really nothing to do with anything that you do. The key to success has everything to do with how you are feeling. The one thing that holds every single person back, it's not a lack of skills. It's not a lack of anything. It's just a lack of belief. And then once you believe, you'll figure out everything because you'll be in action.
Welcome to Be Bold Branding, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand. How are you feeling today? Well, it may sound like a mundane question, but our guest today says that how you're feeling has everything to do with how successful you are. He should know because he's Chadi Bazzi, the founder of Top Listing Agent and a podcast of the same name. He's helped thousands of real estate agents develop an unstoppable mindset and master the art of influence in order to turn their business around in as little as 60 to 90 days. And he's sharing some of those action steps with us today.
Chadi, welcome to Be Bold Branding. Welcome back again to Be Bold Branding.
It's awesome to be back, and I've been looking forward to this. I love you guys. I love your community. I love your audience, and just want to keep on giving and giving and giving that good feeling that everybody needs to have a marvelous brand new year.
I think that's exactly where we want to jump in today. You know, your quote, the key to success has nothing to do with what you do every day, it has everything to do with how you're feeling while you're doing it every day. To expand upon that, the floor is yours. Talk to us.
You know what? It's I had no idea we're going to begin with that, but this kind of plays perfectly with a conversation I had with our listings on demand students today. It was our first session for the year. And, one of the things that I was talking about is that, we should never, ever measure our success, our daily success specifically by the results that we produce every single day. And we need to measure it by the effort that we put in. And a lot of times we don't put in the effort because of an emotion that we are feeling that we just can't get it going. So I've ingrained in their head the following, that our number one goal every single day should be to feel good. Like, that's it. What's your number one goal? Mm-hmm. It's to feel good. So now the question is, what makes me feel good? And this is a very important question, Michael, that a lot of people never really have taken the time to really think through, because most people are operating, from a state of default. Sometimes they feel good, therefore they take action. A lot of times they don't feel good and they get stuck in their head with no action. So I'll begin by just telling our audience right now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pause this, do whatever it takes. I want you to write down the question, what makes me feel good? And over the course of the next 1 week, I want you to keep that on the forefront of your mind as you are feeling good throughout the day, and take note of what makes you feel good, because that's going to become your formula for sometime in the future when you're not feeling good. All you got to do is pick up that little card that says, well, here's 10, 15 things that make me feel good. Which one do I want to participate in right now? And all of a sudden, you are inspired out of your mind. You've forgotten about whatever the heck is preventing you from feeling good. And that's goal number one. But now here's the kicker. There's goal number two. And a lot of people don't even go to number two. Goal number two, once you achieve goal number one, is to feel even better. Feel even better. And when we keep the focus on that, it's like inspired action visits you. Everybody's waiting for motivation. Well, you're not going to feel motivated every single day. I know I'm motivating you right now, but Chadi B's not going to be there all the time. What are you going to do when I'm not here? So you got to develop that formula for inspired action, something that you do at will, something that you do with the snap of the finger anytime you want. By the way, I just snapped my finger right now. In NLP, that's an anchor. Every time I snap my finger, guess what? I start speaking fast. I start going fast. I start feeling good. It just triggers very good things for me. What is your anchor, etc.? So I know I'm going a little bit too fast. I'm just super excited to be here with you guys. So
I love it.
I love it.
Don't curb it, man.
No. And it reminds me too of, right before I actually started BrandFace, or at the time that I was starting the company, we all go through some tough times. And I was starting the company. A lot of personal things were going on in my life that just kind of have shaken me a little bit to my core. And the moment I started thinking that, oh my gosh, I can't do this, or I started to have doubts, I had one thing that I did. I made myself get up, go into my bedroom, into my closet, get my tennis shoes on, and go for a walk at least 45 minutes. Every single time I walked, I found the answer. I found the answer. And it was such an inspirational thing to me that, today I'll do, interviews and so forth. And I say, hey, don't forget to ask me about the shoes, the shoes, because that was my thing. That was my snap the fingers. Right. And I think we all have, I could probably very easily list 10 or 15. And one would be, where we spent last week was on the New River in Virginia. That's a peaceful place, right? So peaceful.
Yeah.
So you really can, I know this is a cold term, but manufacture that feeling by making yourself do something that produces that feeling.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Chadi, what makes it so smart and what makes you so really good at that is the fact that you do that as an exercise in a business. I used to say to our real estate clients, your success in real estate is going to be towards doing the things that are going to make you successful, even when you can't see the immediate results of it, right? Because we don't in real estate. And so many other businesses and so many other entrepreneurs are in large turnaround times, big commissions and large turnaround times. And it's easy to get down. It's been a week. I haven't heard back on the contract. Is the guy going to choose me or somebody else over the listing? And it's hard to stay that motivated when you can't see that. But yet once you do and you begin to get that ball rolling, it's other people say, oh, well, what's their secret formula? And if I've looked at 1,000 of them, I've said the secret formula is all right here. And you go right at that immediately. Yep. But you do it in a way that they can actually manifest that. They can actually do it. Like you said, even the snapping the finger.
Yep.
So important.
For me, it was, the going through the tough time and realizing I've got to do something, and then realizing that one thing was what worked for me every time. What was it in your life, Chadi, that brought you to this realization?
That's a very good question, because I think this was probably around 2004, 2005, after having been very heavily involved in the personal development world, being around, Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, and Matthew Ferry, 40 plus hours every single week, and all the greatest minds and stuff like that. And started to think on a larger scale, and I've read all the books and I've heard all that stuff. And my dad came to visit me, and I was like, well, let me see what he has to say. So I started asking questions and stuff like that. And he's the one that said to me that the key to success has really nothing to do with anything that you do. The key to success has everything to do with how you are feeling, and that a ton of bricks for me, because I was at a place to where I was studying, researching, reading, doing, cold calling, presenting. And I was so heavily involved in just the doing. And I was able to grow. But when my biggest growth that came around 2005, and that was I think that was my first $100,000 month at that time, is where I placed a heavier emphasis on all the things that made me feel good. And I want to expand on that a little bit more, because as we're entering the new year, we all put a business plan together for 12 months, for the whole entire year. And one of the exercises that we do in our listings on demand training with our students is say, let's break it down into quarterlies, and then let's break it down into monthly. And, in visiting that question of what makes me feel good, I think, besides the things that I experience on a personal level with my family and children, et cetera, it's me really getting an email or a text message from someone saying, I just had an appointment that I never thought I was going to set. I just took a listing from someone I never thought I could list. I just, closed this deal from here and stuff like that. Or I'm beginning to, feel more confident, or I finally believe in myself, or I finally broke through. That right there for me, each one of those messages is equivalent to $100,000. Mm-hmm. So in setting goals for the year, and specifically breaking it down to the month of January, for the first time ever, my income goal for January is zero. My income goal for January is zero. Seriously, I will make money, don't get me wrong, but I have a zero income goal, zero expectation, zero attachment to the amount of money I make in the month of January. Because my number one focus is that every single person that's part of our coaching and training experiences getting business they would have never gotten without us.
Mhm.
The number one focus. That's going to give me that great feeling. But now we're taking it a step further because it's going to give them a brand new feeling, a feeling of like, I finally believe that I can do this. And that is greatest gift.
I like it. I like you shifted your quantification of success to their success, and it didn't even equate it to zeros. That'll equate itself.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that a lot.
I do too. And I'll never forget years ago, I think a lot of people that are listening may know that because they're listening to our podcast right now. So they know most of our story, but they may know that I sold vacuum cleaners door to door to pay for my way through college. And the greatest sales training that I ever received was from my sales manager at the Electrolux Corporation, right? And the local sales branch. And he said, you know, when is the best time to sell a vacuum cleaner? It's when you've just sold one.
Yeah.
Right? Because nothing compares with that high, that confidence level. And I too love it when we hear from our clients, hey, I've been in this business 21 years and I got my first $1 million listing because this is the first time I believed in myself enough to get it.
Yeah.
To go for it and to think and believe that I was going to get it. Yeah. So, you know, it is true that you talk a lot, Chadi, about abundance, and you and Michael actually have a lot in common. Michael's brand identifier, if you know the BrandFace world, is abundant life broker. He realized, you know, a long time ago, his joy comes from watching other people achieve their abundant life and sharing with them how he achieved his, which is a lot of what you do too. So I have one question for you. What is it that you feel holds most people back from their abundant life?
It's the lack of belief.
Yeah.
It's the lack of belief. It's like, for me, I never believed. I never believed. You know, you're talking to a shy introvert that my belief was total opposite of what it was right now. I thought everything was hard. I thought everything was meant for someone else, not for me. But then again, that's a belief. Like you believe something. You either believe something to be true for you, or you and if you don't believe it to be true for you, then you believe for it to be untrue for you. So true or untrue, it doesn't matter. There's a belief. And then I remember a very long time ago, one of my mentors said, well, what is the evidence behind your belief? Like, share with me, what is the evidence? And there was no evidence. And that's when I really began to discover that it was nothing more than a story that I bought into, that I invented. Like, nobody even gave me the freaking damn story. I invented a story that made things so difficult for me. And then, you know, one of my cousins introduced me to a book called The Magic of Believing. And, you know, that book was not just a book for me, it was like a life manual. And I started to work on, you know, believing, and then, you know, things began to happen like literally at lightning speeds. So I think the one thing that holds every single person back, it's not a lack of skills. It's not a lack of anything. It's just a lack of belief. And then once you believe, you'll figure out everything because you'll be in action.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, Tanya's one of her favorite quotes is Dr. Wayne Dyer, you know, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yeah.
And we know these things. And we actually were on a podcast with another guest earlier, and he was talking about the same thing, about this belief and having that. And yet it is so simple that it's so hard to do. And I think, you know, and we're all guilty of it. Every one of us has been guilty of it. Every one of us have been
consistently.
Very hard to be consistent about it. I'm an eternal optimist. I'm blessed because I do believe that tomorrow will be better. Like, because in my life, it always has been, no matter how dark things might have gotten. You know, I'm better off today than I was yesterday. That's just the way it is. But even I have seen times like you're talking about where I'm like, I don't know that'll happen. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I don't know if that'll ever happen. But every time that I ever believed that it would happen, that's exactly what happened. And so it is an exercise that you've got to do. You got to focus on it, and it does work.
Right. And I want to expand a little bit more on that, because I know there's somebody that's watching and or listening to this right now. They're thinking to themselves, well, okay, how do I develop the belief? Same exact way you develop the not believing, by the chatter that has taken place in your mind. Like, you know, the majority of your thinking is done by default. And that's going to continue to happen. The majority of it, no matter how mentally strong you are, is going to be happening by default. So what we want you to do is to have better thoughts a lot more on purpose. Okay. So why don't you just go ahead and use this freaking damn device that you spend a couple of $1,000s on and set reminders on that, like maybe on an hourly basis, that something pops up and says, Chadi, you're amazing. Okay. Or Chadi, you are worthy. Or Chadi, you're a leader, or whatever. And then, you look at that, and then what do you say? Say, I'm a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, you do this for a month. You start thinking, you start believing that you are a leader. You start thinking that you are charismatic. You start thinking that you are sexy like me. You know what I mean? So it's like, play that game in your head, because every liar eventually believes their lies.
Right. That is so true.
I'm going to lie my way to the top, not lie to people, lie to myself, to brainwash myself and believing that I am this crazy, magnificent difference maker for the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's so fantastic about that is you get there and you realize it was never a lie.
It never was.
It just feels like it in the moment, and you condition yourself to keep saying it, keep saying it. Michael mentioned Dr. Wayne Dyer, who's one of my favorites. And I was actually watching one of his videos this morning called The Power of I Am. Right? I am wealthy. I am a leader. I am these things, right? Mm-hmm. And it's true. It's what you're talking about. So expand once more, if you would, on how do you be consistent with those things? Because you can set reminders on your phone and you can snap your fingers and you can make a list of 10 or 15 things that you want to do. But what tips do you have for people who, okay, it's like New Year's resolutions, right? It sounds so fantastic for the first 3.5 weeks. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, that gym's too hot. It's too far away.
I can come up with more excuses than anybody.
I know.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'll share with you my experience, and then I'll make a recommendation for people that can't do what I've done. If I want to trail back to the beginning of the foundation of my life turning around and just going north, going from, sideways and south, sideways and south to north, for me, it happened as a result of being in a mastermind. And I was in a mastermind with 3 other individuals. And if you were to Google every single one of their names, you'll see what happened to all 4 of us. And all 4 of us will tell you this mastermind was, because we were nothing at that time. We were just hungry individuals that just wanted to be like the people we're watching on stage and everywhere else. And the names are very simple. My name, Chadi Bazzi, Danny Morrell, Vinny Salcido, Kevin Sturdivant. Google all 4 names. That's the original mastermind. And what we did is we took on all these crazy things that were very difficult. Like, hey, let's go work out in the morning. Let's put a morning routine together. And Chadi Bazzi would wake up at 4:25 and text everybody and then go back to sleep. I know that's right. And then, then we figured out a way around that. Okay, we're going to start doing a conference call every single morning. Okay. And then you got to text when you get to the gym. And then another text message, I'm beginning my prospecting. And then another text message when you're done with your prospecting. And then another text message reporting what happened at the end of the day. So number 1 is be around people that are moving towards the same destination you're going to. And with that comes respectful, massive accountability. Because left to your own devices, chances are you're lucky to make it 3.5 weeks.
Right.
Most people, it's 3.5 days. Okay?
Right.
So I'm going to say is if you could invest in a mastermind group, definitely best advice that I can give you. If you don't have the financial resources to invest in a mastermind group right now, begin with your colleagues, begin with online buddies until you get to the level that you can invest in a mastermind group. And that's the best advice I have for that.
I love it.
I love it. I have very positive experience from a mastermind group as well, because that community, that camaraderie and that support, because everybody in there wants to see you succeed and you want to see them succeed. And I think that's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if we stick with the theme of real estate, it's such a competitive world and it's not usually approached from a position of abundance. even though there's more houses than all of us could sell. Like we could literally all make millions and millions and millions of dollars. There'd still be plenty of houses to sell. It's very hard to get people to understand that, right? And they fight over the scraps instead of going at. So you don't really get that a lot of times in your brokerages. You need to get that in a group where people are very positive for you. And like you said, hold each other accountable. That's very important.
Yeah.
To develop those good habits. Because my grandpa always said good habits are just as hard to break as bad ones.
Yep.
Yep. And so build the good ones. It'll make a difference.
That's true. So Chadi, what is in your plans for 2023? Tell us what another year of success looks like.
You know, you ask the hard questions. Where's my shoes?
You have to step into Barbara Walters' shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, may she rest in peace. I'm a huge fan of Barbara Walters.
I'd say this year for me, it's less about finances and more about not just for me to feel good. It's like, I'll give you an example that will tell the story best. I just went to Morocco for 2 weeks. And while I was there, I was totally checked out from work. Like I only turned on my computer twice so I could run the payroll. Okay. And I found myself like missing my clients. I'm not going to say I'm missing my work. I'm missing my clients. And I was all about like, okay, so I've taken 2022, I think I've taken like an average of 1 vacation every single month. And I even have people that I'm working with that didn't even take a vacation all year. And I'm like, I'm living my best life. I'm blessed. So I want to keep my focus on getting other people to live their best life. Like literally, we will have a 7-figure year in spite of anything, no matter what. But we're not going to be so adamant about tracking the dollars and the cents and all these KPIs. Our KPIs are going to be all about making sure that our clients win at the highest level. So this year, it's not about us. It's about them.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, yesterday I sent you a link to a video that we just did called The Year of Saying No, right? In a strange way, that is similar to that, right? We talked about everybody gets so bombarded, and no doubt some of the people in your program, they get so bombarded with daily things and too many things on their calendar and so many non-productive meetings and so forth, that one of the ways you help them is to focus on those things that really, really matter. And that's why we call 2023 the year of saying no, because we're saying no to the things that don't matter. Let's focus on the things that help us get, all of us, help us get what is good for us, what we want, what we're proud to call something we've accomplished at the end of the day. We too are very blessed, and we spent about a weekend, a month out of town last year, and in a very peaceful place.
And we're increasing that this year. Like we literally started halfway through last year changing our, because in our world, as in yours in a lot of ways, we book so far out in advance, but we started about halfway through last year compressing it to a 4-day work week. And then we're going to get it to a 3-day work week, because we can be just as profitable and we can help just as many people. And then we also can live that much better of a life for ourselves, which we want, and then teach other people how to do that also. So it's very easy in the world we live in to just yes, 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 yes. Yep. And just take, help you, whether you're an ideal customer or not. And then next thing you know, you misaligned your life. You don't have time for your worship services. You don't have time for your family. You don't have time for yourself. And then you crash, like old mentor of mine told me one time. He said, you got to take a vacation, because if you don't, you'll get one whether you like it or not. And,
exactly.
That's true. That's true.
You can go to burnout like that.
Yeah.
And I remember part of your story, Chadi, was when you really honed in on your focus, is when you looked back and said, I really wanted to spend more time with my son, but I didn't get that because I was working too hard. Can you expound on that for a moment? I think a lot of people focus on that right now, or trying to focus on that. What does that say?
I love myself.
I love it. So for those of you who can't see this right now, Chadi's holding up a necklace, like a dog tag almost, that says, I love myself.
Yep. So the reason I pulled that up is because the son that we're talking about, he made this for me when he was like literally 5 years old. So we're talking about like in 3 more days, it'll be 21 years I've had this.
Wow.
Yeah. So for me, growing up, and it's funny that my daughter was just asking me a little bit ago, like, which parent did you used to gravitate more towards when you were younger? And I kind of like wanted to answer the question, but I kind of didn't want to answer the question because I'm talking to my daughter at the same time. And it's like, what do I say? How do I say it? It's like, my dad was never around. And it wasn't by choice. It's like, here's a man that came to, a brand new country with 6 children, now has 8 children, no education. And, he would wake up in the morning, go to work before we even woke up. And then he'd return home after we were already sleeping.
Mhm.
The thing is, and then, I found myself doing the same exact thing when my son was born. And then like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like I sold my home, moved across country, went and got my education at the Mike Ferry organization and, turned things around. And now it's like, that's all I do is spend time with my children.
Mhm.
They're my best friends. So I hold this up because, this reminds me, okay, this reminds me of when it all started, when I really started to pick him up from school and drop him off at school and attend his football practice and be 100% present. And that's where I want to teach a lesson right now, if you guys don't mind.
Not at all.
So this is where I developed the way that we schedule our life and our business right now. And it's something that I teach my clients to do like on a weekly basis, the ritual. And the ritual is at the end of every single week, you plan out your following week by answering a couple of questions. The first question is, what are the things I want to accomplish for me this week? So you set me goals, 1 goal, 2 goals, whatever it is. That's, question number 1. Question number 2 is, what are my family goals? Like you said, goals for your family. And then question number 3 is, what are my business goals? See, most people do it the other way around. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then after you set those goals, then you answer the second set of questions. What are the activities that will give me my me goals? What are the activities that will give me my business goals or my family goals? What are the activities that will give me my business goals? And then what you do is you take all those activities, and the first activities that you put in your calendar are the activities that make you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're going into your calendar first, and then you put in your family activities, and then whatever is left goes to your business. Because most people, Tanya, Michael, what they do is like they give their business their all. And then if there's any time left, they give it to their family. And if they did give it to their family, then there's no time left for them. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, when they're at work, they're thinking about their family. And when they're with their family, they're thinking about them, their work. And then they're not present, they're burned out, they're overweight, they're unhappy, and their whole entire family is going to be unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
What is all that work? So we do it back. I don't know if that had anything to do with the question, but I thought it was good to share.
Had everything to do with
it. And it's a fantastic takeaway. And we appreciate you sharing that because it is so important. And I was guilty too. I think a lot of men, a lot of times when we feel responsibility to our family and we want to provide them things, maybe things we didn't have, I was guilty of that as a younger man too. Just spent a lot of time on the road, a lot of time working. And, nobody at the end of the day is going to say, on that last breath, boy, I sure wish I'd had one more day to work.
Yeah. So true. That's so true. Chadi, one last question for you. We'd like to ask everybody on this show, if you could visit any place in the world or recommend any place in the world for other people to visit that's been an inspiration to you, what would that be or where would that be?
Does that have to be a place I personally visited?
No.
Okay. If I could recommend a place that somebody can go to, I'm going to recommend a place I've never been to. And I'd like to tell a little story about that. I'm going to say, go to Montana. I've never been to Montana.
I haven't either.
But I'll tell you, Montana's been calling me for years. So there's got to be something. Hopefully I'm right. If I'd like the audience to comment, and let me know if I should really go to Montana or not. I've never been to Montana, but every, like literally at least once or twice a week, I feel like Montana's calling me for a reason. I don't know why. So there's got to be something in Montana. So that's a place that I've never been. Now, out of all the places that I've personally been to that I would say go, my gosh, I've been to a lot of places and a lot of places I didn't like. I'll say go to Lebanon. Go to Lebanon.
Lebanon's on the list. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Go to Lebanon. You will experience the total opposite of what you see in the media. You will experience a country that doesn't appear to be modern, to be more modern than even the country that we live in, the country you may be residing in. You would experience culture in a very unique way. And I think you'll probably experience the most hospitality you've ever experienced in your life anywhere around the world.
That's awesome.
What a beautiful note to end on.
Yeah. I see probably, it's a little bit like California too, right? You can be like 2 hours skiing in a mountain and 2 hours on the coast, right? I mean, you're within 2 hours of the best of both worlds.
Absolutely. That's why every time a Lebanese person will go to Laguna Beach, they think they're in Beirut, Lebanon.
Yep. Now I've got some good friends that are actually Lebanese, and one of them, Tony, our friend Tony.
Yes, they brought us some. They pronounce it baklava.
Batlawe.
But now, okay. So yes, and what else? She brought us another dish too. They're wonderful people.
Yep. He says he's going to take me one day, so I was like, I'm in.
We'd love to go. We'd love to go.
We love travel, and we love people, and we love different cultures. So those are good suggestions. And we love Montanians.
And we love Chadi Bazzi. We love Chadi.
Yeah, Chadi, you're fantastic. Dude.
Thank you so much for coming on Be Bold Branding again, Chadi.
It's an honor. It's an honor to be amongst people that share the same vision and the same values as you. And you two are just doing so many good things out there for so many people. And I so want to be a part of your vision as well, too. So thank you for having me be a part of it.
Yes, sir.
You bet.
Thank you.
Brought to you by BrandFace, the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe.